up, everybody? Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany, a podcast that focuses on making biohacking accessible and affordable for everybody. I am finally back in Vancouver, which is great. I'm pretty jet lagged right now, so I'm trying to just make the best of it and go with it. I have been waking up at 5 a.m. every day this week and going to bed late, and I'm running on very little sleep. My Aura Ring, which is which you probably see in like my photos and videos and stuff, is a sleep and activity tracker. And it's not happy with me this week. So that's okay though. I'm averaging probably this week on like 4 hours of sleep a night, 4 to 5. But it's how it goes. I was in Singapore before this, and the time zones are basically opposite. And it's even with like bringing in travel healthy tips and biohacks, it's been difficult to get back into the swing of things here. I'm having like kind of actually weird symptoms that I didn't have last time when I came back. I came back for a visit in March. I have a lot of like muscle pain lately this week, and actually pretty bad, like bad enough to wake me up in the middle of the night. So I'm just kind of trying to see what that is about. I've also taken this week off of working out. So I don't know how it's kind of all making sense like that. Like usually the muscle pain comes from overworking out and comes from overtraining. And like the next day you're sore, but I haven't been working out. I've just been like walking and doing yoga this week. So I'm not really sure why that's going on. So if anyone actually has any like tips for muscle pain, that would be very helpful. Currently right now, I'm just taking a bunch of magnesium, which tends to help. I don't want to take any Advil or Tylenol just because of like what it does to your gut. So I'm just kind of like pushing through the pain and ignoring it. It's radiating like from my shoulders into my right arm a lot, and then my knees as well. So I don't know what that's about. It could just be like from stress from traveling. So anyway, but yeah, I'm back in Vancouver, super excited to be here. I have some really fun things coming up. I'm just adjusting to being back and getting an apartment and doing all the things, all the adulting things. But it's nice to be back. For those who don't know, I've been traveling for about 10 and a half months. And before that, I lived in Vancouver for about 3.5 years. And before that, I was in Ontario. And before that, I was in South Africa, where I was born, actually. So I'm kind of like a globe trotter, if you will. And yeah, so now I'm back, and it's actually really nice to be home. I'm excited to be here where there's so many biohackers and healthy people, and it'll be good to be back in the swing of things. So yeah, just as a heads up, I get some questions about this. The podcast today is about training and fitness and intermittent fasting. That's like basically the main points that we touch on. And it was a while ago when I spoke to Siim, the guest, and I've actually since then, I have a new workout program that I've been doing, and it's called Sweat. It's an app by Kayla. I think it's like Itzines is how you say her last name. And so for anybody who's actually interested in that whole world of BBG, which is what the workout guide is called. If you're interested in that, like shoot me a message. I'd love to chat with you. I just finished week 8 out of 12 last week for it. And then I'm going to go into the second version. It's amazing. The workouts are absolutely phenomenal. The results from the BBG, which stands for Bikini Body Guide, have been awesome and totally worth it. And the program is 3 days a week of strength training, but mostly using body weight. And then the other 3 days are 3 to 4 days are cardio. And so, but like not go for a run for 20 minutes. It's like walking for an hour is fine. It's called like LISS, or you can do HIIT, of course, but that's kind of where it goes. And so the strength training is broken up into lower body, upper body, and then full body for the third day. And the results are actually definitely noticeable. I started noticing after week 6 would be, I would say, like the point where I started noticing difference in ab definition to start with. Also strength, just like building strength in my chest, which is the weakest part of my body. Which is probably related to the muscle pain that I'm getting right now in my back and my shoulders, because it's probably due to, a weaker chest anyway. So it definitely builds strength and endurance, and it's really something special. I'm very impressed with it. I've done a lot of workout plans before, and I've worked out by myself before. Like, I've been going to the gym for probably 10 years now. I don't think I've ever taken more than a week off of going to the gym, which is crazy if you think about it. But so I've had my fair share of programs that I've tried, and different classes and methods and all these things. And it's really amazing. So the app itself is very well done, very, very well done. And it has everything you need. And the beauty of the Sweat program, the app, is that it takes the guesswork out of fitness and out of you working out. So you literally open your phone every day and it tells you what to do, and you don't have to think about it. So you can go to the gym and have it all sorted for you and know that you are hitting every body part, every body group, and making sure you're like doing everything properly. It also has yoga on there. It has stretching, there's foam rolling. And it's a very well-balanced program. It definitely is not like lift weights every day. I mean, there is one like that, but not the one that I do. So it's just really good. I'm just like giving a total shout out to them. But because people do ask for my review of it, because I know like Sweat by Kayla was like a big thing a few years ago, but it's been revamped and like rebooted, and it's actually very, very well done. So you have to pay a yearly subscription. I think it's like 120 maybe. I don't remember, something like that. So it's not bad. And you can also do it from anywhere. So you could do it from home. And that's why a big reason is like why I signed up for it as well, was because with traveling on the way back here, I went to 5 different countries in 5 weeks. I was able to do the program the whole time in hotel gyms, in the room, wherever I was. And that was the best part, was I knew that my fitness was taken care of. So I'm just totally going on a rant about it. But if you were looking for a new fitness program, if you are looking for something that is going to take your fitness to a new level and actually give you results, I actually 100% recommend it. I've seen results myself. I'm taking a week off this week for the first time. My body's quite sore, so I just need some rest, but I will be starting week 9 next week on Monday. So there you go. That's a little helpful hint for you. Oh, my brain is like so jet lagged right now. Today we have Siim, like I said, and we really just focus on training and fitness and intermittent fasting and answering all of the common questions that come with that, of like, if I'm intermittent fasting in the morning, what type of workout should I be doing in order to get the maximum results, in order to get the best weight loss, and all those types of things that people always want to know about. So that's kind of what we talk about and dive into and really just like provide a lot of details on. So I really hope you enjoy this episode and love it, and let me know what you think. Thanks.
I would love it if you could tell our listeners a bit about yourself and your health journey and kind of how you ended up in the biohacking world in general.
My name is Siim and from Estonia, which is like this small country in northeastern Europe. I've been doing, this biohacking or self-optimization since high school. And the reason I got into it was to just improve my physical performance and improve my mental performance and everything else. And kind of the originating reason that I did started was that after the high school, I had to go like to the military, or I decided to go to the military to get my like mandatory service. And then I was really into getting stronger and building endurance and everything. So that's one of the kind of reasons that I started this sort of like really in-depth analysis and in-depth trying to, improve every aspect of my performance. But after that, I was also, after finishing the military, I was also in college. And then I was, interested in not only like physical development, but also like mental development. Like how does your brain change during meditation? How can you, improve your learning? Those sorts of things. So it kind of all things were brought together by me starting my blog 4 years ago or something. And the blog itself was originally just a way of sharing some of the things that I've learned. And over the course of these several years, it's grown into more of like article-based website where I talk about different topics related to, human optimization, different nutrition techniques, biohacking, intermittent fasting, and those sorts of things.
Amazing. That's quite the story. So I would love for you to talk about strength training, because obviously this is an area that you are an expert in. And I have a bunch of friends and family who are fit and who work out every day and who eat properly and are strong in different senses. So how do you kind of take it to the next level through biohacking?
I think that strength training itself, you can't, biohack strength training that much. It's more of like a traditional way of really putting in the work and staying very consistent and disciplined over the course of, years and years, because you're not going to like overnight become like strong or burn fat and build muscle. And so you just have to do it consistently. It's one of those things that you can't really biohack that effectively, but there are like definitely certain principles that you can keep in mind and certain like nutritional interventions and other like forms of recovery that you can apply. But the main, premise or the main principle of strength training is progressive overload, which means that you just have to, over the course of years and years of training, you just have to improve in some shape or form, whether that be like power, explosiveness, or whether that be strength and muscle hypertrophy, which is the phenomenon of muscle growth that tends to like happen alongside with that. And you combine it with like proper nutrition in terms of getting adequate amounts of protein, especially because you need, the amino acid building blocks to build new tissue, as well as some other nutrients that help the process. But, I would say if your goal is like pure muscle growth, then there are a lot of people who have already done it who aren't necessarily like biohackers, like the professional bodybuilders. There's a reason they eat in a certain way, like they eat 6 small meals a day very frequently, high amounts of carbs, high amounts of protein, and it works in their example, and they kind of tested it for decades and decades. So that's one of the kind of easiest or the most effective way of building purely muscle. But the problem is also that just building muscle itself may not be coinciding with other aspects of health, such as longevity and general like overall health. Like, although the bodybuilders are like huge and they have a lot of muscle, they're not necessarily the healthiest people. So there tends to be like some sort of a trade-off in terms of what kind of fuel are you consuming and what kind of training are you doing. So like if someone's purpose is longevity, then their approach to training and nutrition would be somewhat different from someone who is expecting to go on like stage and go to the route of a pro bodybuilder. So yeah, like those things, they're not necessarily be coinciding, or they're not always complementing each other. But at the same time, strength training itself is still like a very beneficial for anti-aging and longevity as well. So it's a matter of context, but at the same time, just getting stronger, getting enough nutrients, those are the things that everyone should still pay attention to.
Yeah, definitely. So if you want to build muscle and be strong and fit, but you also care about longevity and, living healthy into 40s, 50s, 60s, and later on, like, how do you find the balance between that? And like, what does that actually look like day to day?
It would depend a lot on the particular individual, but at the same time, I think using some form of like a cyclical manner for intermittent fasting, as well as cyclical carb cycling, in my opinion, that would be like the easiest thing to balance these these two sides of the coin. And usually daily time restricted eating is still something that helps the body to reap a lot of the benefits of positive muscle growth, while at the same time preventing the kind of overstimulation of these muscle building pathways and these anabolic pathways that aren't always like pro longevity, so to say. When you are fasting, then your body is actually, it's not in the building mode, it's more of in the recycling and repair mode. Optimally, you would want to have these periods where your body is repairing itself and breaking down actually, and kind of losing some of that vital tissue. But at the same time, you don't want to take it too far. You will still want to have the adequate anabolism. You want to have adequate buildup and adequate nourishment.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you are fasting every day, like doing intermittent fasting, but you want to become more fit or stronger, do you work out while you're fasting, or do you recommend like afterwards, or what do you do?
I think it depends like on what kind of a fasting schedule or a fasting window you aim for. It also depends on like what's your preference. When I was first starting intermittent fasting, like in high school, I fasted for 16 hours every day, and I ate my food within 8 hours. So for me, I broke my fast at 16 hours with like a very small meal, a low carb keto meal. And then I waited for a few hours. I had like a resistance training workout, and then I consumed the rest of my calories in like the post-workout meal. And so for me, that was like the way I decided to do it, because generally you would probably feel stronger at the gym if you had like some food in yourself, and that will also like be more beneficial for muscle growth. But at the same time, I also done like different ways of maybe doing some fasted cardio before breaking the fast, just maybe doing like some easy calisthenics or something like that as well. So that's just like different goals. Like if I'm doing like fasted training, then I'm not necessarily trying to progress exponentially and like hit new personal records and so on, because like it's not that optimal for doing that. But after several years, I will kind of transitioned over into like eating primarily one meal a day. Now I'm usually working out in a fasted state without like seeing any negative side effects in my performance. So to say, I've kind of become more fat adapted and more keto adapted. So my body is very easily able to kind of burn body fat and the ketones without needing like a bunch of calories. Like sometimes I will also have like maybe like some sort of a protein shake, or I'll maybe eat some carbs during my workout. But it's still like, it's like semi-fasted state where I'm working out.
Yeah. I find for myself, I mean, like I'm sure we have very different goals and we have very different bodies, but I find for myself, if I work out in a fasted state in the morning and I do something like HIIT or even yoga, but like things that are more either cardio focused or like easier like yoga, then I actually tone really fast. And if I, have extra weight at the time to lose, then I lose it a lot faster. But if I try and, do a leg day like squats or whatever on a fasted state, I find it very difficult to have enough power and enough energy to like push through and hip thrust 200 pounds. But when I eat, something for lunch and then I go to the gym maybe an hour or two later, then I can definitely do it. So I don't know if it's just like maybe you've been doing it for longer, you're more adapted than I am, or it might be different for females as well.
It's, of course, like I also agree that you will probably feel stronger if you have like some food, your performance will be higher. And yeah, in my own personal experience, like if I'm like purely fasted, then yeah, the power isn't there. Like you probably won't be able to get into the last shift, so to say. The way I have kind of decided to overcome it, or found from my own experiments, is that I consume like this sort of, I'm doing like I call it the targeted intermittent fasting method, which essentially is that I fast all the way up until the point where I'm about to work out. And then during the workout, I consume like this protein shake with maybe like a little bit of carbs as well. And what I found is that that's going to help me to, kick it up a notch and still, feel as if I've eaten something, although I've been fasting all the way up until the point. and that's essentially also going to help with the muscle growth, because you're getting the amino acids into yourself right during the workout, and that's also going to protect against the additional muscle catabolism that tends to be higher if you're like working purely fasted.
Yeah. So I think it's a balance. Like I think if you were to
Yeah.
do HIIT and cardio days fasted, and then you did your other days, your strength training days with food in you, I think that might be like the good balance.
How many times a week do you train?
I try to, what do I do right now? 5, 6 times a week. But
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I actually think currently I'm overtraining right now. So
Right.
I'm dialing it back a bit. It's very different for females. I find that if you overtrain for females, it really affects your hormones, affects your mood, affects your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And so strength training every single day doesn't work for me. And
Mm-hmm.
HIIT every single day, even a spin class, I love spin, but every day does not work in the long term. And I think, like we were talking about earlier, I think it's too much stress in the body. And I think it ages you faster than if you were to chill out a bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. That it's easy to kind of train too frequently without allowing your body to recover, and that's what I've seen a lot in my own example as well. That if I kind of become too hardcore or doing it very consistently, then I just don't have like enough time in between those days to rest enough. So yeah, like usually, especially if I'm trying to like actually focus more on strength, then I see that training less often actually improves my performance a whole lot, because those rest days are there for like a reason. And trying to combine a bunch of cardio with resistance training kind of leaves me at this position where I won't be able to get none of them. Like your body can't really, it's very difficult to achieve both strength and endurance at the same time. You can do it very strategically, but you still need like adequate rest, because if you train, one day HIIT, one day weights, one day cardio, one day HIIT, and so on, then you're never giving your body enough time for like to adapt and actually get stronger, because it's kind of in this vicious cycle of just focusing on recovery and trying to prepare for like the next day's session.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So how much recovery do you recommend for people then?
It depends on like what kind of tools are they using for recovery, so to say. You can definitely take a sauna, take some ice baths, and get like proper sleep. Those things will accelerate the recovery process. And like professional athletes, they still like they're able to train at a very high intensity for very frequently all the time. And the reason is that they're like focusing a lot on the recovery. They don't have like other work stress. They're getting enough sleep. They're getting like highest quality nutrition. They're taking cryo chambers, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and so on. So the average person simply just has to know like what kind of tools do they have access to. Generally, probably the most important thing that gets neglected is just regular sleep, and people aren't probably getting. Not only aren't they getting like enough hours, but the quality of those hours is also somewhat lower. And I think just fixing the sleep and fixing the circadian rhythms, those things will drastically like change the recovery process. But at the same time, like taking a sauna, taking some cold showers, those things can also like just help with alleviating maybe probably some of the physical soreness in muscles.
Definitely. So do you believe in like active recovery where like say you have a day off at the gym, but you go to yoga or you go for like a hike or you do these types of things that are like still technically raising your heart rate and you're still doing something? Or do you just think that like you should have days where you're a couch potato and you actually just let your body like recover and rest?
Yeah, I think active recovery is definitely like beneficial. Like I will always, take a walk every day. I'll do like some maybe stretching or some mobility work. But yeah, you just have to kind of pay attention to not make that active recovery into like some form of a high intensity workout, like some people tend to do. And yeah, it's just a matter of not thinking that it's supposed to be hard. Like active recovery would be something that you just get yourself moving and keeps you mobile, and maybe it may elevate your heart rate a little bit, but yeah, not something like too strenuous.
So the gym that I has a sauna. It's not infrared. It's just like a traditional sauna, but it's better than nothing. So do you think that with a sauna or like cold showers or cryotherapy, these like practices that are stressing the body in a different way, do you think that it's possible to overdo that if it is being accompanied with exercise throughout the week as well?
Yeah, like all of these strenuous activities, they do trigger like this, the phenomenon of hormesis, which is like a positive dose dependent stress. And you can overdo anything, whether that be exercise, whether that be fasting, whether that be, cold and the sauna. I would say that it's not probably like ideal for like lifestyle either to do a bunch of sauna all the time, because your body will adapt to it, and then you need to, kick it up a notch and take it to the next level to elicit another positive response. So the goal isn't to, become fully optimized to the point where you have to like really experience a whole lot of stress to see a positive effect, because just you're going to have to just put more effort into it. The goal would be to kind of get as much positive effect from those things as possible without, without making your body so resilient against them that, you just have to keep grinding it. With like ice baths, it's definitely true that you may like experience like mild negative side effects from too much cold exposure. Like I would imagine like hypothermia, not directly hypothermia, but just generally feeling somewhat tired eventually, and it will like drain some energy. So I like to do those things only in like a cyclical manner, again, that not doing them every day, not doing them every week even. And I do have like some breaks every once in a while where I actually avoid everything those that would like kind of stress the body. Usually I would aim for like maybe four times a week of sauna at maximum, and at minimum like 2 times a week.
And how long are you saunaing for?
Usually it's gonna be like a 20-minute session with maybe like a short cold plunge or a cold shower, and then another like 5 to 10 minute kind of finisher.
Okay, I think I'm sauning too much because I sauna probably, like, honestly, I sauna almost every single day. And
Hmm.
whether it's like before my workout or after my workout, or sometimes like yesterday, I went in for a full hour because I was so tired I couldn't work out. But then I still wanted to feel like I was doing something. So I went and saunaed for an hour and I did a cold shower after. So I think you're right. Like, I think that I am overdoing it. And I think there's something to be said about recovery, because every time I go on vacation or I travel and I take time off the gym, whether it's a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, and I come back and I do strength training or even HIIT for the first time, I can actually do a surprisingly high amount of time or weight or whatever the measurement is. And I'm
Hmm.
not like, I've had people tell me that before. And it's like the weirdest thing, because you think, oh, I've been on vacation, I've been eating this, I've been drinking alcohol, doing all these things. You would think coming back to the gym, it would be difficult and kind of like, oh, painful. And like, you don't want to be there and like whatever. And then your body's actually very capable. So it's really interesting.
Your body is always trying to adapt to the thing that you're, enforcing, but sometimes you just, block the adaptation and you keep your body just repairing itself. And, there's a difference between adaptation and recovery. So adaptation is the idea that you actually progress and you get stronger, but recovery is just repairing the damage that you caused to your body. So if you're always in the repair mode, then you don't really have enough resources to adapt and get stronger, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. So I would love to know what your workout plan is currently, like what you do on a day-to-day basis.
I would say like 80% of the time I'm actually doing like primarily calisthenics and bodyweight exercises. Usually it's almost like a full bodyweight workout with some walking lunges, pistol squats, vertical jumps. Then I'll do like pull-ups, push-ups, dips, handstand push-ups, and some muscle ups, and those sort of things. other 20% of the time I'm doing like regular weightlifting or at the gym. So those things I try to get to the gym maybe like once a week. And at other days I'm doing like bodyweight exercises. I do a lot of like kettlebell swings as well as a like form of cardio it's almost like a Tabata type of cardio where I do like 30 seconds on with some kettlebell swings and rest for like 10 seconds and another 30 seconds on. And I repeat it for like 5 minutes or something. And that's going to be really good for getting like a cardiovascular effect. I'm not like that into like regular cardio, like low intensity cardio. I do it maybe like every other week or something. I'll go for a run for maybe 45 minutes or something. But yeah, that's the most of the training that I do. I also use, I don't know if you've heard about it, the X3 bar, which is like this resistance band, and that's supposed to like mimic some aspects of weightlifting at home. It's been pretty damn effective. I've seen some small improvements from it, but yeah, most of the time I just like to work out with my own body weight and doing like these different calisthenics moves and like muscle ups and planches and those sort of things.
Cool. No, I haven't heard of that band, but it sounds very interesting. I'd love to, yeah, I'll link it in the show for sure, because I definitely want to look into that. It sounds like something that you can probably travel with by the sounds of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like very small. You have like these heavy duty resistance bands and this sort of a small, like a bar that mimics the barbell bar. And you strap the bands onto it and you can do like chest press, you can do squats, you can do rows, deadlifts, and like biceps curls and those sort of things. So it's really convenient.
Cool. So for the people who are trying to get into the gym and have been on and off for years and, you know, want to get back into it and get fit again or whatever their goals are there any specific exercises that you would recommend that you've seen the fastest results for maybe toning the body, but also strength training at the same time?
Well, I think most people tend to shy away from the compound lifts, such as the squats, deadlifts, and bench press, just because they're, afraid of the heavy weights or they're afraid of getting too bulky, so to say. And I think that it's also it doesn't make sense or something, because before you get like into like actual bodybuilding sizes, you would have to also take some anabolic steroids or something. You would have to be doing like pro bodybuilding. But for most people, actually, they would see most of the improvements in terms of physique development if they were to actually focus on those compound lifts like the squats and bench press, because they stimulate. They require like your entire, almost every muscle in your body to be recruited, and they're like not only burning more calories, they're also causing like this systemic hormonal adaptation by increasing testosterone and increasing bone density. So those are the more functional movements as well. Like the deadlift is probably like a very functional movement that is going to carry over almost everything else you do. Like if you get stronger at a deadlift, then you will get stronger at lifting anything else in your house. Lifting, you can even get stronger at pull-ups by doing deadlifts, and the same applies to like squats as well. Like you do squats, and that's also gonna not only improves your lower body but also strengthens your back and so on. So for like functional training, then those compound lifts would be something that would have like the biggest effect. And you don't have to do like a bunch of these variations. I'm going to do like a biceps curl from this angle. I'm going to do a triceps push down, and etc. You will already stimulate those same muscles at a much more effective way if you were to do like a bench press or if you were to do a barbell row. So the kind of small isolation exercises, they tend to be really distracting almost because they're not that effective and they don't actually cause that kind of a positive adaptation that people expect.
Compound movements are great. Okay, so my squat is weaker than my deadlift and my hip thrust by far. And I have no idea why. Like, I don't know if it's because like I've done deadlifts and hip thrusts for longer and I've like been working on them for longer, but my squat is easily my weakest compound movement. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's my form or if I'm not activating the different glute muscles properly. But for everyone out there who hates squats or doesn't know how to do them properly, what advice would you give?
Yeah, squats are, they're difficult, but they're also like scary that you have like a massive load, massive weight on your back. So the way I, saw some improvement in my squats was when I started doing squats more frequently. Like a few years ago, I did the squat everyday challenge for maybe, I did it for like a month, and then I still trained squats like 3 times a week after that. So I just think like more frequency will kind of train your nervous system to adapt at a faster rate as well, and you will, at least I saw like much faster strength gains just because of training more frequently. But with more training frequently, you're also forced to kind of dial down the volume, so to say, that you're not going to do like a bunch of sets which would cause like nervous system fatigue. I had like only like a limited sets that I could get away with doing a certain workout, and that kind of forced me to take advantage of it as much as possible and to focus like on really quality form and getting enough rest periods between those sets. So I think like quality over quantity is more important, but at the same time, like frequent training is probably the biggest thing that will kind of break plateaus to a certain extent.
Okay, so lower frequency of reps at a higher rate, but more times throughout the week.
Lower volume per set. Like you wouldn't do maybe like a set of 10. You would do like a set of 5 or something, like with a heavier load, but you're still able to train more frequently throughout the entire week because you're not overtaxing the nervous system by doing 10 sets of 10.
I have a really low tolerance for that anyway. When I've like followed workout plans and it's like 4 sets of 10, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I don't think so. And I think that, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I'm just like very impatient. So, but no, I'm definitely going to try that because I think it's something that I need to work on. And a lot of female friends of mine like struggle with the squats, just the movement of it. I guess it's like against gravity as well, right? Like pushing the weight back up. It can make the biggest difference, like you said. So I think it's something really important to bring in. And then I also found, just for like the females who are, and males, I guess, who are trying to improve their squats, is having a resistant band in the beginning to warm up your different glute muscles is so key, because if you go straight into a leg day and you just try and squat and do deadlifts right off the bat, these massive compound movements without actually warming up the glutes properly, it's a disaster. It does not work as well. Do you have experience with that?
Yeah, for sure. Like warming up is really important, not only like for avoiding injury, but also like just training the movement pattern, because a lot of the training itself isn't just a matter of like the muscles firing or the neurons, so to say. Like a lot of it is like psychological as well, like in terms of being able to know how do you recruit those muscles and how do you do them like more efficiently, so to say. So you have to definitely be present with the movement and kind of teach yourself to do it more properly.
Yeah, exactly. If I don't warm up with a resistance band, then my back or my different leg muscles will compensate for my glutes, and because they're just not activated. So it's definitely through the training, through the warming up, that makes the biggest difference. And those bands are like so accessible online. They're all over Amazon. They're really easy to find, like you were saying earlier. But yeah, I definitely think there's a lot to learn about that. And like there's such a myth with muscle building and strength training of like, if I lift so heavy, I'm going to become super bulky. Right? Especially like in the female gym world. And I see it all the time at the gym and I hear about it. But to actually become super bulky as a female, like whether it's in your back or your arms or whatever, like I feel like you'd have to be lifting like a ton of weight frequently, like very, very frequently, right?
Right. Yeah, and you also definitely have to like do the other things that the bodybuilders do, like take steroids and eat, a bunch of protein and so on. So most people, they aren't able to just physiologically able to achieve it, even if they did train like very hard, just because of not having the additional assistance. But lifting weights probably isn't making you bulkier. It's like if you said that you want to tone up, then the weightlifting is actually the best thing to tone up, because you will increase your lean muscle mass, which will help you to burn more calories without exercising, even increases your metabolic rate and increases your kind of hormonal balance, and essentially boosts growth hormone as well. So you will see like a much bigger positive effect in your body composition if you did like some form of heavier weightlifting instead of like a spin class or a HIIT cardio and a bunch of these different, circuit training and so on.
Yeah, I think it's a balance of both. And it also depends what your goals are, right?
Of course.
But just touching on the steroid thing. So obviously, like, we know how steroids work in the body and what they do. And, there's so many different cases out there of terrible things happening from them. But do you have any natural recommendations that are similar to steroids that can help facilitate, these workout goals that people tend to have?
That's a good question. I think a really good boost in anabolism is to just eat like a high quality diet with sufficient amounts of protein. You may like increasing a little bit of the protein can be useful for most people, and primarily from like animal sources such as some eggs, fish, and meat. Those are the best foods in terms of protein. And then there's also like creatine it's like a natural supplement that's very well researched, and it has like a very positive effect in muscle hypertrophy even. It's primarily used as like energy producing molecule for creating ATP, but it also promotes muscle growth, helping to retain more water in the muscle cells and more glycogen. So there's even like a cognitive benefit for taking creatine. So even like, especially like vegetarians, they start supplementing creatine and their memory improves. So like most people, they aren't eating, I think like even the regular person, an omnivore, they aren't eating like enough red meat to get enough creatine from that. So just supplementing like a cheap like creatine monohydrate is a really effective way and a really easy way of seeing some improvements in physical development. Then there's of course like sleep, again, like optimizing sleep and recovery. That's like one of the critical parts of general longevity as well as muscle growth, because during sleep, you're literally repairing the body, and those at that time you're also like changing it, or that's when the adaptation takes effect. And if you're like missing out on it consistently, or you're not getting like the optimal amounts and optimal depths of sleep, then you're just leaving things on the table.
Yeah, sleep is huge. And with the creatine, when I was taking creatine frequently every day, I did notice an effect. I used to take it in my water with BCAAs and L-glutamine when I would go to the gym. And I found that my energy was better. And like you said, like I put on muscle mass faster. And I have like a scale at my gym that does the electrical current that it runs through you. And like you can measure your fat percentage and all these different things. So I've actually measured it. And there is a difference with the creatine. So that is definitely, I agree with that, a very good one for people who are working out and looking for kind of like a natural steroid, but like not the same thing, but like kind of the same thing. So
one thing can also be useful is actually carb cycling instead of like eating a consistently high carb diet, because the truth is that eating carbs can help to retain more glycogen and more water in the muscles. So you would look like larger if you ate a bunch of carbs. At the same time, those periods of low carb can actually make your body more sensitive to the anabolic effects of carbs. You become like more insensitive, and you essentially like, if you train like in a low glycogen state and then you consume carbs afterwards, then it kind of causes this super compensation effect. And you would, in my own experience at least, like instead of eating carbs all the time, I see like a much kind of bigger or a much better improvement in body composition if I were to cycle it with keto and low carb.
So do you cycle it every other day or during the day, or what does like the cycling actually look like?
I think it kind of depend on like what I'm doing. I don't do it like every day, although it's possible to do it in a daily eating window as well. I do it maybe like once a week or something. I'll just, for one day of the week, instead of eating keto, I'm eat carbs after the workout.
Interesting, because I've kind of followed this rule for a while of like start with fat, end with carb. So the first meal of the day is very fat and protein focused. And then the last meal of the day is carb focused, which I guess in a 24-hour window, that is kind of carb cycling. I've done keto before, but I didn't love keto.
It's called carb backloading, like where you eat low carb before or the early parts of the day, and you eat carbs after the workout later.
Yeah. So is carb cycling the same thing as cyclical keto then, technically?
Basically, yeah. Like there are different ways of explaining it, but yeah, usually it's the same thing.
Yeah, because I found keto was too restrictive for me, but cyclical keto of going in and out of ketosis throughout the week was more manageable, and it sounds very similar to carb cycling, just having carbs come in and out throughout the week and not ever being high carb like full time.
Right.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I feel like I just learned so much about strength training, working out, and all the good stuff from you.
So I hope you enjoyed that episode with Siim. He's always such a great guy to talk to. He is probably one of the best known biohackers out there on social media, and just knows so much. He does a lot of public speaking and educating around training and nutrition. So he's definitely a go-to guy. Check him out. Everything we talked about, of course, will be linked below. And I just wanted to say, for the way that you listen to this episode, I actually do upload everything to YouTube as well. All of the episodes are just put on there just as audios. It's just like a photo. There's no visuals, but just as another way for people to have access to it. And then it is also made onto my blog, biohackingbrittany.com. And then each episode has the web player or the YouTube link in the video right there. So you can just find it on my website if that's easier than iTunes or Spotify or like other places. I am on YouTube if you're interested. But I hope you enjoyed that episode. Next week, we actually have such a lovely person. Everybody's lovely, but she's extra lovely. She's a good friend of mine. Her name is Vanessa, and she lives in Vancouver and is an entrepreneur and started her own company that is an app, which we'll dive into next week, that basically optimizes female health by correlating different health data points. For example, let's say you have headaches and you're tracking your headaches, and then you're also tracking your nutrient intake, like how much dairy you're having, for example. It'll show you if there's any correlation through this app. And it's amazing. And it's really, really cool. So I love it. And you can track anything and correlate anything. So it's very interesting. So she just started that, and it's doing very well and people love it. The app is called Flocka. I think I might be saying it wrong, but that's how I've always pronounced it. And it's spelled Floka, and it's out now. It got released in January. So I'm very proud of her. But we dive into holistic female health next week, which is my favorite topic. That is what is coming up. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and catch you next week.